Welcome to our show. You're listening to Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections, a place to learn about and celebrate creative arts therapy. Each week, we'll explore new ways that music, art, and dance can reach, connect with, and help individuals of all stages of health and wellness. Hi, I'm Bree, Beynon, a board-certified music therapist and the managing partner for the Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute. Tune in as I interview professionals from healthcare and educational backgrounds on the impact of the creative arts. If you prefer to watch our live video stream, simply visit www.pbmti.com. Hello, thank you so much for joining us tonight. You're listening to and watching Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. I'm your host, Bree Beynon, a board-certified music therapist and certified neurologic music therapist, working here locally in South Florida with the Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute. If this is your first time joining us tonight, we're so glad you're here. Just to give you an idea of what you can expect from this show, is we spend an hour every week shining a light on creative arts therapists and those that are working in the community, in healthcare and educational settings, looking for something a little bit outside the box as an approach to solving some of our common everyday issues to health and wellness. Last month, we focused on Brain and Alzheimer's Awareness Month, as it was June. So you heard a lot from those who represent our local Alzheimer's Association chapter, some different professionals who work with seniors with neurodegenerative disorders in the community, and also how music can help just our general wellness, which is something that we can all understand. We use music for relaxation, we use music to motivate us, we use music to help stimulate learning. So it doesn't matter if we are using music as a medium to help someone who's maybe living with Alzheimer's, dementia, a stroke survivor, or just in our everyday lives just to get through a commute. We understand the impact of the creative arts. I wanted to shift gears slightly for July and do a theme of business tips and tools. And here's why. I know that's a big jump that we've made from June to July, but I'm a really big proponent of kind of getting ahead of an issue. And so for those of us who work in education or healthcare or even tourism, or if you're down here in South Florida, you know that summertime can be a slower month. Anywhere you live, especially if you work in education, summer is obviously a slower time. Things slow down, our client lists slow down, our schedules slow down, and it's very easy to slow down ourselves, to get a little lax. But if you are like many of the creative arts therapists who maybe don't work specifically in a facility or for a corporate client, you're probably a small business owner. And even if you're not a creative arts therapist, you're listening tonight, this will apply to you. If you're a private practice or a small business owner or someone who's maybe thinking about this as a next move, this is going to be a great show for you tonight to listen to, and really stick with us throughout the month of July, because we're going to be focused on this idea of growing a small business. So in my field, in the field of music therapy, there's an overwhelming amount of us that are young women who, one of our major options when we get out of school is you may be looking at starting your own business. We don't have a single class in college on business. I don't know too many music therapists who have their MBA. I'm sure there are some out there. But this is not something typically we learn as part of our curriculum, which I assume is the same for art therapy, dance and movement, and a lot of therapy-related fields, healthcare-related fields, that when we get out of school, we certainly know how to do our job. We know how to treat someone. We know how to use our medium to help someone feel better and meet their goals. But we got to find the clients to do that. How do we market ourselves? Because now really we are marketing ourselves. We're marketing the field because we're trying to get out to the community and let people know what it is we do, why we do it, why to choose us. A part of that is you are marketing yourself. Oftentimes you are your own brand. So how do we do that? You know, if you're just coming out of school or coming out of an internship, or maybe you've been working a job steady in a hospital or a school district for years, and you're looking at this as an option for the first time, this can be an extremely overwhelming concept to think about. One thing I think is a great place to start is really identifying your strengths at networking, because so much is going to grow and expand just from the start of knowing who to talk to, knowing who your audience is, how to reach them, what are the keywords to say to them, what is your ask, and how to follow up. So networking can mean different things to different people. And I think it can sometimes be a generational thing. I think sometimes those of us in our 20s, I'm on my way out of my 20s, but I'm going to still call it that for another month. We think of the social network, and what we can do online, which is going to be our topic today, how to market yourself on the social media effectively. And how do you do that when you are your own brand? Do you use your own page? Do you use a business page? Can you do both? What are the lines between that? So we have someone joining us today, and I'm going to get into exactly what makes her a subject matter expert on this topic in one moment. But we're going to talk about the perks of social media. There can be some negative things out there, but there can be a lot of positive things that can work for you. You can make social media networks work for you and really expand your business. I read a book last year I'm a huge Bravo junkie. Love my Real Housewives, my $1 Million Listing. So I read a book by Frederick Eklund, who's from $1 Million Listing New York, called The Cell. And he's huge on social media. If you don't follow him, and it's not a paid endorsement, I just really like him, but he is huge on Instagram, and then his Instagram goes to Facebook and all that good stuff. And he's very, very particular about how he uses his Instagram. Now, he uses it for work and he uses it for personal life, but there's a lot that goes into the photos that he selects, what words he puts as a caption. He said he's made some of his biggest sales, talking multi-million-dollar condos or apartments in New York or whatever it might be, homes in the Hamptons, from an Instagram photo, from a well-lit, well-filtered, beautifully timed, with a few words on the bottom, Instagram photo. It's as easy as that. Doesn't mean he doesn't have a fabulous personality and sales pitch to go with it, but that's where the buck stopped. The impression that he put out on social media. So again, there's a lot of bonuses, perks, if you're doing this the right way, to marketing yourself on social media. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today. But I do want to encourage people that it doesn't always stop there. In fact, even if that's where the connection is made, please don't forget the value of making that face-to-face connection. If you've listened to the show before, you know I've talked about many times that I attribute a lot of some of the skills that I have in business and sales skills that I never went to school for, to growing up in a furniture and appliance business from as young as I could walk. I was trying to greet customers as they walked in the door and sell my latest artwork to someone who really came in for a couch and not for a 25-cent picture of the sun. But that's what I thought my job was that day as a 5-year-old, was to sell whatever creation I'd come up with. And one of the most important things that my grandma taught me is the power of a really well-connected handshake and making eye contact, and how important that is. You can't make a handshake and eye contact and conversation with someone through the internet. You can try, but there's no replacing that. And I do see us getting away from that, but I just want to encourage people, as many perks as there are to social media, please don't forget that there's so much value in looking into your community and seeing what are some groups that I can be involved in. What are some groups that networking groups that, maybe you can check out a lot of them as a guest first before you commit to anything long term. Make sure you know your audience, especially if you're a new business owner. There's not a whole lot of money in that marketing pot because you haven't earned it yet. So you got to be selective, and maybe you're not going to join that $500 a year annual cost to do the whatever club that's in your field. But what can you find that maybe is a little bit more affordable, or that you can find someone to go as their guest that's really going to be the audience that you need to reach, and that maybe you can do a complimentary presentation ad to really get your message out there. It's amazing. The more you can just get in front of people, get your message out there. Think about all the people in that room and their circle of influence and who they know, putting your business cards out there, not being afraid to meet with someone who maybe is out in left field, but they're really genuinely interested in you. You don't know who they know, and who they could encourage to contact you. And it grows from there. I mean, I've talked about it before. I'll talk about it again. This is how our small business went from 2 contracts to about 50 contracts in 2.5 years. 2 years, actually, 2 years this month. Just getting out there and just talking to people. And that's all just in this community. This is just all in South Florida. Who can even imagine what else is out there? And this is in a field where nobody knows what I do. So if you're in a community where people know what your field is, you really have an untapped market. But for those of us in creative arts therapies, I get the challenge. I get the struggle. It's hard to keep repeating what you do over and over and to feel misunderstood and to have someone tell you that they have what you do in their facility that someone is doing on a volunteer basis, and you know it's not what you do. And it's hard not to take that personally, but I encourage you, please look for the silver lining. They know the value in music. They know the value in art. They know the value in movement. That's a great place to start. Where can the conversation go from there? And you do miss that at times when you're just connecting through social media. So just an encouragement. Social media is wonderful. We can make it work for you. You can do some really incredible things. Don't forget the value of face-to-face. The biggest sale that I ever made was in an elevator going from the 6th floor to the 1st floor because I had a really good elevator speech ready to go in 30 seconds. And before I got off that door, I had a business card and a contract was in motion at the first email. So just something to think about. My kind of call to action for the day, and this is going to be worth it, so I hope you're listening. Call to action is I would really love to encourage, doesn't matter what field you're in, or even maybe if it's a personal goal, not so much a professional goal, but what is a networking goal that you can set for yourself that maybe would make you a little bit uncomfortable? Maybe it's, finding the local, we're just going to say Alzheimer's Association because that's how myself and my guest are connected today. And speaking to them about your work or what you do to connect with someone. They're joining a walk committee or joining the Kiwanis or the Rotary or going to your church to speak about something. Or maybe it's just sending an email to someone that you've been really wanting to reach out to, but you're afraid of that rejection. That's a very real concern. We've all felt that. And we get rejected sometimes too, and it's okay. It stings, but it's okay. I want you to think about, as we talk today, what your networking goal, on or offline, would be. And we're going to have phone lines open throughout the whole rest of the hour. If you call in, the first person to call in and share their networking goal with us, we have 2 lawn tickets to the Dave Matthews Band concert here in West Palm Beach on July 30th. I actually think I know this.
It's the 30th.
I think it's July 30th.
I think it's the 30th. I think it's the Saturday show. There is a Friday night show also, but I believe it's a Saturday show.
Okay, so the Saturday night show. 2 lawn tickets to the Dave Matthews Band for just sharing your networking goal. And then you've shared it with us and all of the people listening. Now you're accountable. Now I'm going to get to the point where I'm going to introduce our guest today. We're going to be talking to her after a quick commercial break. Before we cut to commercial, though, I just want to read a bio for you because this is really, really exciting. We've had Karen Turk on the show before. She's a friend of the show. We were talking about our connection through the Alzheimer's Association, and through that, learning about music therapy and making the connection for your mother and the benefits that she has seen with her mother going through the progression of this disorder, but using music therapy as a way to bring some of those memories back and also to create some new positive memories in the moment through singing together, through songwriting. So a lot has happened in Karen's life since then, so she gets an updated bio. So Karen Turk is a keynote speaker, marketing trainer, author, and consultant in the art of social selling for global organizations. Can you see why perhaps I had her on to talk about this today? She is the founder and CEO of www.marketingproonthego.com, an online consulting and branding platform that educates business owners on branding and marketing visibility. She is currently Mrs. Florida, U.S. Continental, and was named one of South Florida's power women in the top influencers in 2015. She has elevated her personal brand to include thousands of followers across social media platforms, including Kardashian. We're going to talk about that later. She is a regular contributor to publications and has graced the covers of national magazines, including Step Bomb magazine and Country Club living. Karen has over 16 years of grassroots marketing, traditional publishing, and digital marketing experience. She has built several successful startups and worked with large corporations, including CBS Radio. She believes in using the web to drive online visibility and generate leads, but subscribes to a philosophy that feet on the street and handshaking are alive and
baby
well.
kissing.
Baby kissing, very nice. I didn't mention that earlier. She has been active in social networking long before social networking was a widespread internet phenomenon, which it is. And so if it's at our fingertips, we should be using it. And we're going to talk about, just after a quick commercial break, how to make social networking work for you. I'll be right back with my guest, Karen Turk. Stick around.
Mom's fall was a wake-up call. We knew she needed help, but we also knew she'd never leave her home.
With jobs and kids, we can't always be there. We weren't sure who to trust to help around the house and make sure she takes her medications.
We did our research and found our answer. Bright Star Care. Their home care teams are led by registered nurses, with help available 24/7.
Thanks to Bright Star Care, Mom can stay where she wants to be, at home.
For a standard of care that raises the bar, call 844 for Bright Star.
The Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute is a professional music therapy practice serving medical, community, and educational settings throughout Southeast Florida. With our experienced team of 11 board-certified music therapists, we use music and research-based therapeutic interventions to help individuals of all ages and abilities reach their goals and increase their quality of life. For more information on our services and programs, please visit our website at pbmti.com. Engage with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or call us at 561-747-9944. You are listening to Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. If you'd like to join the conversation, the toll-free number is 888-565-1470. Now back to the show. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You're listening to and watching Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. My name is Bree, Beynon. I'm your host. I'm here with my guest tonight, Karen Turk. Thank you so much for being here, Karen.
Oh, you're so welcome. I love coming on your show.
Thank you. And I mean, since we've talked last, which was 6 or 7 months ago, a lot has changed.
A lot has changed.
In your life. And you actually have your own show also now.
I do.
Right?
I do a marketing show with a good friend of mine who I actually met through networking down here in South Florida many years ago and worked for one of the chambers, and we became friendly. And she's, all about social media, somebody who I respect and I know really well, and we do a live show on a weekly basis.
Awesome. And on the topic of
marketing, small business marketing is usually our topic. We invite different business owners on. We talk about different things, the struggles that we have, the mistakes that we've made, how we've learned from it, and we try to just kind of elevate people's knowledge of how they can market themselves online.
I love that that's the first thing you said, too, is the mistakes that we make. Because, like I was saying in the first segment, a lot of what holds us back is our own fear and our own fear of judgment. And I get it. I mean, we've all been there. And sometimes I think when someone else kind of just put yourself out there and maybe it doesn't go as we plan, you learn so much more from coping from that in the moment, and hearing that other people make mistakes too makes you feel better. Like, I could do that.
And every mistake is a learning experience.
Yeah.
Like every time you make a mistake and you grow from it, you look at something that you say, all right, well, next time I'm not going to do this, I'm going to do that. Well, you're never going to perfect your process. You're never going to have the seeds that you're planting now. You're not going to be able to reap them later if you're not going ahead and doing that.
Yeah.
That's just not going to happen. So you have to be able to kind of cultivate your process and change it and adapt. And that's one of the big things I say is rinse and repeat.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
you need to kind of let it all, give it 90 days, kind of let it all settle, stick with your plan. And then once you've stuck with your plan for a while, then it's time to kind of look back and say, okay, maybe I would have done this differently. Maybe I need to tweak this here. And you make some subtle changes and you move on for another 90 days. If you overwhelm yourself at the beginning, you'll drive yourself crazy with the details.
For sure. And I'm sure we're going to get into, as the show goes on, speaking of laying out a plan, 10 tips, like what you've learned through your experience of what works, what hasn't worked so much. For someone this is very new to, here's our experience. So that's going to be awesome. I'm going to rewind a little bit.
Okay.
And as you just said on the break, I like it. You want my South Florida experience. What brought you here? Have you always been doing pageant work? How does that affect your community work? Give us the
This
whole.
is my first pageant.
Okay.
And what's interesting about this is this sort of evolved, not because I said, oh, I want to go out and I want to win a pageant and I want this title, but this is going along very well with what I'm doing already in the nonprofit world. And I'm doing a lot of speaking, and it gives me an opportunity to now be able to work with the charities a little bit better, get a little bit more visibility for the things that I'm already doing that benefit me and the people around me. So that was really a natural match for me. And I'm 43 and I just won my first pageant. So
And congratulations again, by the way.
thank you very much. But what brought me to South Florida was, I was in the publishing business and I've been in marketing for a really long time, and I've marketed different types of small businesses and mostly in professional industries, similar to, what you do where you're providing a service.
Sure.
And, trying to perfect that and going through a lot of mistakes and challenges along the way and really networking my tuchus off, to get where I am now. And that's a really big part of it. You got to lay the groundwork and you have to be secure in putting yourself out there. And that's what I did, 15 or 16 years ago. I became a part of the community here, and this is before the internet. And I love South Florida. So this title makes me very proud because this is really where I feel like I'm from.
As it should. And we were just talking before this. You thought, okay, for the charities that I'm involved in, I'd like to do Mrs. Wellington. Mm-hmm. Okay, now that progresses to Mrs. Florida. I mean, what was that like for someone who's never been in this world before?
And you made a really good point earlier when you were talking, and I wanted to bring it up, as you said, well, once you've said it out loud, you're committed to it.
Right.
And that's my motto. Once I say it out loud and I say, I'm going to do this, I have a plan, this is how I'm going to market something, I stick with it, I'm going to do it. And I actually had a friend who I knew through a charity I was involved with, Place of Hope. And we did a little get together for them, a little networking event in our office, and invited some of our friends and people that we wanted to kind of, know a little bit more about us and what we do. And I brought them in and I said to her, wouldn't that be great? There were some girls there who I was friendly with in a pageant. I want to do that. I want to be Mrs. Wellington and I want to compete for Mrs. Florida. Once I said it,
You're committed.
I was committed.
Yeah.
I was in. So at that point, then, I worked really hard to actually win the title. And thankfully now I get to carry this around. And it has a lot of responsibility with it, but it's good. It's good.
What goes into that, doing a competition like that?
A lot more than I thought.
Yeah.
So it's preparation. I mean, it's, getting to know the other girls. I mean, for me, I think a big part of what I like about living here is a sense of community. So for the rest of the people who are watching who are here in South Florida is a great place to network. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm a part of the community. I've been ingrained here. Like I said, this is home. So for me, meeting other people and connecting with them, which is what it's all about, I enjoy that. And I think anybody who's in business for themselves should enjoy that too. And they have to find their comfort zone of kind of putting themselves out there. But if you're in it, and you're in business for yourself, especially, like you're saying, being a young woman and being out there, people need to know you. They need to trust you and they need to feel comfortable with you, especially if they're going to trust you with their elderly family member or, another family member. They need to have a relationship with you and be able to feel like they know you.
Absolutely. Two really good points that kind of sparked something as you were saying. One, it's kind of ironic to me, but it also makes sense that, no one we meet, rarely do we meet someone who's actually from here, right? You and I both came down from up north. And I'm from a really, really small town where even though you go to the grocery store, you know everybody, there's not so much a draw to really get out and be super engaged in your community. And here, where we're all really creating a brand new community because nobody's from this area,
right?
It's really interesting. I feel like people are more motivated to seek out those connections. It's not as natural because you didn't grow up here.
And we have good weather all year too,
So
which
you're
makes
out-
and that's there's no
Another
excuse for the
happy hour on
summer
the beach?
months.
Okay.
No excuse. You
Right,
can't
right.
slow down during the
Yes.
summer because the weather's good all year here.
Yeah.
So, we are really fortunate, I think, that weather puts people in a good mood and they come here and there's a sense of, you are lacking the seasons a little bit, but I feel like year-round we have the opportunity to be involved in our communities and do things here because of the beautiful weather.
Absolutely. One thing that I really like, too, about how you've kind of developed your brand, we're going to talk more about this later, is going back to that book, I just love that Frederick Eklund book. So The Sell, he's like, you're selling yourself. So think about the things that make you special.
Yeah.
What makes you special? Not your business, not what makes music therapy special, not what makes that charity necessarily special. I mean, we're representing these things, but what you are now the ambassador for them. What makes you special? And if it's that you like to wear 2 different bright colored socks, so that every time you sit down at business meeting, someone comments on it and you become that person, and
Or
that's
Lily.
fun. You like to wear Lily. Yes. I like to do that as well. Let that be your calling card. Right. Bright colors. You like to, he likes to do a high kick and people think it's hilarious. That's his statement thing. Made him goofy when he was little. Own it.
Make an impression.
Make an impression.
Make it memorable.
Yep.
I say make it your moment. That's one of my hashtags I've been using, because I felt like the night that I went out on stage and I did this, which was way out of my comfort zone. There's a lot of things now that I'm doing at 43 that I don't know if I would have been comfortable with doing in my 20s. And I feel really thankful that I've grown to the point
really
where I
cool.
can do them. But, I felt like I need to own this. I need to make this my moment, whether I win or not. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to give it all I got. And, I think putting that sort of an effort into yourself as your brand ambassador, that's what's really important is, there's sometimes I have to give myself a pep talk, as I'm sure you do, as confident as I think I am and everything else. Everybody has those little voices in their head, and you have to put yourself out there and you have to get outside of your comfort zone.
Somebody, I don't know where I was or if I read it or I saw it, but someone said, no great amazing thing ever happened from being in your comfort zone. It's comfortable.
Yeah.
It's safe to hang out there for a while, but no great change or revolution or anything that happened when I was in my comfort zone.
Right.
It's, and that, as simple as that is, it's huge.
Yeah. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. And it's huge when you're building your business to have that kind of awareness to kind of say, what, you have to be passionate to go into your industry, which I think is a beautiful thing. Go to creative arts altogether. Generally, these are very passionate people.
Sure.
You're very passionate about what you do. Most of the people that I've met through you who do this are very passionate. So you have that going for you. You already have that elevator speech inside of you because it's a part of who you are, because you're passionate. That's a real advantage over somebody who maybe is not in the right career, because people don't stick with music therapy and the creative arts unless they really genuinely love
Absolutely.
it. So
we're not becoming millionaires.
right. But that's why it's even more important that you have that in you, and it's such a special thing to have. That is your talent.
Right.
To be able to show people what you can do for them and show them your personality and sell them on you.
Excellent point. And we're creative arts therapists. Creative is the first word. I mean, to have creativity in your brand development and your marketing and your networking, I mean, you already got a leg up.
there.
Exactly.
You're halfway there.
Yep, for sure. Just to, again, rewind real quick. You mentioned Place of Hope, but I just wonder if you talk about some of the charities that you do support in the community.
I try to support things, and we've had this conversation before. I think you have to support things that really speak to your heart and your experience and your journey. And one of the things that I'm really passionate about is Place of Hope. I'm an adoptive child. I wouldn't have had the life that I have had I not been given certain opportunities, and I feel really lucky. So a big part of me wants to allow other kids to have that same experience because I feel so fortunate. So that's one thing that's close to my heart. Yeah. And then my mom has Alzheimer's. So that's another thing too, and that's actually how we met, that I've chosen to pour my energy into. And I think you made a good point earlier too, is you can go out and try different things. You don't have to figure out what your passion is right away, but you're going to put some good out in the universe to try different things and find a group that really you feel comfortable with, you feel like you're making a difference, and that can be a huge marketing in itself, and you're doing it for the right reasons.
Right.
You're not out there saying, I'm going to do this because it's going to promote my business. But you know what? While you're there, you're going to meet some great people who are like-minded, who are involved in the same things you are. They have the same interests you do. And all of a sudden, you're going to develop those friendships. And I know we've made a lot of friends through the Alzheimer's Association.
Absolutely.
So I think it's really important. That's been something that's been really life-changing for me. And I wouldn't have this title if it wasn't for that. To put yourself out there and find something that's a cause that you believe in, I think is just probably needs to be close to number one on your list when you're looking at building your small business and building yourself, because it'll make you feel good. It's a self-esteem builder.
It starts with us, and you have to, it's hard to say you have confidence, all right, well, where does that come from? And I think that's right. That's what you build it up. If you believe in what you're doing, when I've done presentations on this at our local or regional or national conferences, is selling and sales doesn't have to be the dirty S word. You know,
Yeah.
you don't have to be on QVC in the middle of the night selling something you don't believe in. You're
Yeah.
selling your passion.
Your passion.
I mean, you've spent years getting to the point where you can go, hey, world, this is what I do. This is why I do it. That should be a great place to start with that confidence.
absolutely.
For sure. And we're going to kind of break it down into some, of all the things you've learned over the years, you've broken down to about 10 tips for us. So we're going to get right into that. Before we do, one more time, our call to action today, 888-565-1470. First person to call in and give us your networking goal, something that you have set either online or offline, a networking goal to reach out, maybe reach out to a new client, a new community member, something to help advance yourself. Call in. We've got 2 Dave Matthews Band lawn seats at the West Palm Beach show on the table for you. So call in, make it accountable. We will be accountable, help you reach your goal. We're going to do a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with Karen Turk. The Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute is a professional music therapy practice serving medical, community, and educational settings throughout Southeast Florida. With our experienced team of 11 board-certified music therapists, we use music and research-based therapeutic interventions to help individuals of all ages and abilities reach their goals and increase their quality of life. For more information on our services and programs, please visit our website at pbmti.com. Engage with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or call us at 561-747-9944.
Mom's fall was a wake-up call. We knew she needed help, but we also knew she'd never leave her home.
With jobs and kids, we can't always be there. We weren't sure who to trust to help around the house and make sure she takes her medications.
We did our research and found our answer. Bright Star Care. Their home care teams are led by registered nurses, with help available 24/7.
Thanks to Bright Star Care, Mom can stay where she wants to be, at home.
For a standard of care that raises the bar, call 844 for Bright Star.
You are listening to Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. If you'd like to join the conversation, the toll-free number is 888-565-1470. Now back to the show. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You're listening to and watching Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. I'm your host, Bree Beynon, with my guest tonight, Karen Turk, 2016 Mrs. Florida, U.S. Continental. Thank you so much for being
You're so
here.
welcome.
We have been kind of just going back and forth, sharing what has worked for us when it comes to marketing ourselves, being, I love that we've been using brand ambassadors. We really are, for ourselves, for our businesses. And you have prepared some really awesome, just broken it down to 10 tips. So we're going to kind of talk through those for the rest of the show. At any point, if any of these tips resonate with you, something clicks, you start writing stuff down, and you have set a networking goal for yourself, whether it's social media networking or getting out into the community, call us, 888-565-1470. We want to hear from you. And the first person we call is going to win 2 lawn seats to the Dave Matthews Band concert here in West Palm Beach, Florida. So, Karen, take it away. Start us at the top here.
Number one, simplest thing is to start a plan and stick with it. So I always come up with my 90-day plan. I'm looking at everything 90 days, and you need to know your audience. I think you said that earlier. You need to know where you think you fit. You have to really take a good hard look, at where you think your niche is going to be. Maybe there's something that you do that's a little bit different than other therapists in your area, but figure out what your niche is and who your audience is, and figure out how you want to go ahead and reach them. And you'll come up with a 90-day plan. And then one of the things, I think people get overwhelmed with social media, and they say, well, I don't have anything to post. I don't know what I'm going to talk about.
Right.
You probably have more than you think. And you brought up something about shopping, and shopping is always one of my favorite topics. So, it's just like when you clean out your closet and you say, wow, I didn't even know that I had this dress. I'm going to wear this. This is awesome. I'm so glad I found it. I think if you look through your content, we've all done writing at some point. Even if it's going back into college, you're just starting your business and you're out of school. There are probably things that you could reflect back on that you've written and that you've done that you can go ahead and use to post. You can also share other people's content. But when you come up with a plan, keep it simple, stick to 90 days, and kind of figure out who your audience is. I think that's most important. And don't be overwhelmed by sharing, because I think people get a little scared of, well, I'm not going to have anything to post. You do. Just look at what you've done before and try to find things that you can share and create.
Do you think there's a magic number? I mean, I think you're right. A lot of people do feel like it's, no, I'm skipping ahead here.
I'm like, that's number 10.
To be continued.
Number 10.
Yeah, so stick around for that.
I think you have to define your target audience, and you don't think you have to be on every social media platform in order to be successful. I think it's important to maybe pick 2.
I agree with that, yeah.
You need to pick 2 at the beginning. For me, it was Facebook. I don't know your industry as well as you do. I don't know what you thought, but I think Instagram is an excellent one. If Instagram had been around when I started, that might have been my number 1 pick, because you can feed that to Facebook.
Yep.
You can feed it to Twitter, so it doesn't have to be overwhelming. But just to have something that's simple and something that's visual that you're putting out there, that you're going to brand yourself. You don't have to start huge. It's better to start somewhere with baby steps and take small bites. Like eating tapas, you want to eat light. You don't want to bite off more than you can chew, or else it's probably not going to work. So you got to remember that when you're doing your 90-day plan. And then my number 3 is start networking. So number 3 that's right up there. That's, you've kind of got your brand, you're starting to build out some of your social media. Now you need to go and shake hands and meet people and have things to share on social media, because you want it to be about you. You want people to see what you do. Maybe you have a client. And I don't know what your rules are, but maybe you have a facility that, will allow you to promote and say that you're at that facility on a weekly basis. Well, when you go there, you should be checking in.
Right, yeah.
You should be asking people when you walk in, hey, I've been doing this for a few weeks now. I really love coming here. Would it be all right if I share on Facebook that I'm here on Wednesdays? You have
always
to
check
be
with your client first.
Yeah, you got to be. You have to be your own advocate.
Yep.
And you have to figure out what those boundaries are and what you can do.
For sure.
Obviously, but you need to be your own advocate to be able to start to talk to people about what you do, because people are not going to find you on social media by natural resources.
Right.
They have to be connected to you. They have to feel like they know you, and there has to be a reason for them to connect with you. So that's why it's so important to get out there and start networking, which is my number 3.
I think it makes more sense. We think about, we've connected with someone in person and then making that transition to online. But what does it look like to make a connection online and then turn that into a face-to-face?
I think it looks very much the same, although it can be a little bit intimidating at first, because we're much more adapt to doing it the opposite way. At least I was, but there was no social media when I was starting my business. So maybe for people coming out the gate, it might be a little bit different. But I feel like it's the same type of a connection that you're making. You're meeting somebody for the first time online. That's like me running into somebody at a chamber event and handing them a business card. That's the equivalent. So I probably don't have a personal connection with them, but I'm going to look at it, I'm going to see what they do, and I'm going to move on. So once you've made that connection, or somebody connects with you online, I think at that point it's now the ball's in your court to build that relationship and to look at it and say, hey, does this person fit into my connections in some way? Can I help them? Can they help me? And a lot of it is, you have to be willing to go out and scratch somebody's back for them to help you and scratch yours. And when you're building your business, it's important to even meet the competition.
Right.
Know who else is out there. Know what they're doing. Know what's successful. Build the market together.
Right. Yeah.
Create allies, because those people can end up being your best friends and can help you with marketing your business.
And I think that's, again, just kind of tying back to if we do have anyone in the creative arts therapies field who's a private practice, small business owner, there is more than enough work for everyone
everybody
to go around. And so I think the more that we elevate the field, the better for everyone. So I really do encourage, like you said, reach out to your competition. If you can have those strong ties and, plan a conference where you're educating. If you've got a really good idea, share best practices. I know it's a lot of people have that as part of their mission. We just want to bring the field up together. I think that does us more good than that. The cutthroat approach.
Absolutely. And, those people are going to be in your backyard. They're going to be a part of your community. Sure. You're going to be connected through a charity group or through a chamber. Those people should be your friends. Unless it's somebody you really dislike, in which case you just, you keep your distance.
And
but
that's okay.
Let's hope that we can like everybody. Let's be on the positive side that, if you create relationships, there's a reason that they're in the same business you are. So I think that that's a huge factor, is not to be ever intimidated by somebody who you feel is 10 steps ahead of where you are. I think you need to look at how do I forge a relationship with that person? Because
What can I learn from that person?
yeah, early in my career, I had a lot of people who are mentors that, you know, I looked at what they did and I said, well, I want to do that. How did they do that? I want to go ahead and emulate that. And you need that in order to be able to grow. So I think that when you start networking, that's really important. And that goes for online too. You should be connecting with influencers in your industry, you know, people who you aspire to be like, people who, you know, your followers are then going to look and say, oh, you know, Bree follows this person. You know, maybe your teachers from school, you know, people that you've connected with over the years who were mentors to you when you were in college or when you were, you know, in graduate school. Those people can be people that can help you along your journey and can help you build not only a networking following in the traditional sense, but also an online following.
And to that thread, social media term, LinkedIn is a great option.
Absolutely.
That I think is sometimes looked over. But I mean, if you're looking for business connections, influencers, my goodness, it's maybe not always as sexy as Instagram is,
Absolutely.
but certainly a lot of value to putting some time in your week into Instagram, into LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And knowing your industry, I would say, is probably a balance between the sort of more personal kind of creative side of it and the business side. Because when you're a music therapist, you know, you are looking at, I'm assuming, targeting not only individuals, but probably facilities and other businesses or hospitals or, you know, hospices that you want to call on. You need to have a presence in both of those markets. So when I say pick two, you know, it shouldn't be two just on the social side. It should be a mix of, you know, what's going to work for you. And in your industry, you're probably very right. It's probably a good mix of maybe LinkedIn and Facebook, or maybe Instagram and LinkedIn, because you want that professional side also.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. And I think the number 4, which goes along with that, is sharing the links to your social presences. So now you've gotten into this kind of 90-day plan. Maybe you've gone to like a chamber event and another networking event, and you've built out your pages. Well, now, you know, they're not going to come unless you drive people to those pages. So I know when I went out and networking events, you know, when I meet people, I immediately look them up on LinkedIn. I look and see, do I want to connect with them? And I connect with them the next day. I don't let the business card sit. And maybe I shoot them a little email that says, it was nice to meet you last night. Not perfect at it. It's not easy. I don't do it a lot. So if you meet me at a networking event, I don't send you a thank you email. Please don't hold me to it. But, you know, in a perfect world, that would be part of my plan. And I do like to do it. And I think it's worked out very well for me when I have done it, because people want to be acknowledged. They want to be remembered. The same way you do. So a little bit like that can go a long way.
And honestly, I think LinkedIn, more than any other platform, kind of gives you a clue into what that person is like professionally. Your picture. Your picture on LinkedIn, I think you need to be very specific about. You probably don't want a blurry selfie as your picture on LinkedIn. You want to take some more consideration into what you look at, because people are not looking at your LinkedIn to ask you out on a date. You hope.
I think when it comes to pictures, I have very strict policies. If you're a client of mine and you come to me and you ask me for advice, that's one of the things that I look at. Number one is profile pictures. You know, if it's cost you a little bit of money, a couple bucks to have somebody take a headshot of you, it's probably going to be well worth it. You know, it's just like any other kind of advertising or marketing or use for business. Again, you're your brand ambassador. Your picture should be good. Your picture should look professional. Your picture should look polished. And it shouldn't be a selfie or, you know, your wedding picture with somebody cut out of it or anything like that. It's just not, you know, it's not a good idea.
I just love... Just made me think of your face. Like, I just love how real you are, because you don't have to be in a turtleneck in a professional setting either in every picture. You can be yourself, show your personality.
And you have to do what you're comfortable with. We were talking about this offline before the show, and I don't want to get off my 10 topics, but you know, it is really important. It's a very personal thing. I'm pretty out there. I say what I want. I say what's on my mind. That's one of the things that makes people do business with me and the way that they do. But there's probably some people that's not for them. But there's somebody else in my industry who appeals to their personality, who they can relate to. And that goes for every different industry. So, you know, but I think there is a standard to when you're putting yourself out there. You want to look professional. You don't look polished. You don't look pretty. You want to... You want people to look and say, oh, that's Bree. Bree looks great today. You know, that's a wonderful picture of her. You know, and it'll make you feel good. That's the most important thing, to have your image out there.
Have your image out there. Put some thought into that. spell check.
Absolutely, yeah.
Use nice, complete sentences, capitalize in the appropriate places. This is I do the same thing. If I hear about someone's name, hey, you should look up so-and-so, they're the decision maker here. First thing I do is go to their LinkedIn. Because I know I'm going to see their writing style. I'm going to see
Right.
how they communicate, who they're connected with.
And if you're compatible with them,
Sure.
because you want to know what?
Yep.
You don't have to be everybody's cup of tea. I
Right,
think that's
right.
important to remember too, and it goes
Yeah.
back to that kind of self-confidence thing
Yep.
that we were talking about. But you don't have to do business with everybody. You have to do business with those people who are right for you to do
Yep.
business with.
Yep.
But if you put yourself out there and you're authentic to yourself, you're your real self. And again, if you have some bad habits, you might want to keep those on the down low. But, if you're authentic to yourself and to your brand and you're passionate about what you do, they will come.
For sure. When
They will come.
when I do this presentation, selling music therapy or selling creative arts therapy with confidence and sincerity. You want to know, it doesn't matter. And I ask, what do you remember about when you bought your first car? What do you remember about the salesman? You know what I mean? Did you, what was the place you chose? What did you like about that person? And I mean, car salesmen, poor car salesmen. And then someone's like, my dad's a car salesman. Yeah. Then, they always get used as an example, but you're going
Right.
to go for someone who's sincere, who's genuine. You're not going to you're going to make an investment in a leather bag or whatever it is, your cup of tea. You're not just going to go for, a bad personality. You're not.
Right.
Yeah.
And the sales process is such, online. I mean, you want engagement. Once you get engagement, those people will come, but you have to also have the content out there. And I think you brought up a really good point. I don't know if I went off track or I just started thinking about it, but it's a good point.
We'll circle back at some
It's a
point.
good point is that when you put content out there too, it drives me crazy when I see people post articles that I know that they haven't read.
Oh, yeah.
Read the article.
Yeah.
Read the article. Post things that you're actually reading.
Yeah.
Post things that you don't just post it because you think it looks good.
Right.
Post it because it's something that you read that you said, wow, that impacts my business or
Yep.
that, I feel the same way about that, So I think that's really important is, when you put it out there, you don't have to be creating your new content, but when you're sharing somebody's content, read the article, make sure it's things that are authentic to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point. We actually have a caller. Caller,
Excellent.
are you there?
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you? Is this Mitch?
This is he.
Hey, Mitch, how are you doing? Thank you so much for calling in.
Good. I've been listening to the show for the last 15 minutes or so.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
And I realize Bree is with the music therapy or no?
Yes.
Bree is music therapy. And Mrs. Wellington is whom?
I'm Mrs. Florida now, but I was Mrs. Wellington. But I'm Karen Turk, and I hi, nice to meet you. And I do marketing and PR, and I live in South Florida, and I'm Mrs. Florida.
Mrs. Florida. It's Karen, is it?
Yes, it is.
Karen, I like the positive energy that you've been giving off, okay? I tend to shy away from social media and altogether because the negativity, and I just don't want to be obligated to being how else can I put it? Owning that the phone owns me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm old school.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible for my wife to connect with you through her Facebook page, and then maybe I can convert that way?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, like I said, what's right for me isn't necessarily right for somebody else, and I'm pretty visible on social media, so you can pretty much find me here, there, and everywhere. But I think it's important. I mean, I think you made a good point. Sometimes I do feel like I'm a slave to my phone, and I think we all do in this digital age. And you do have to walk away. It's nice when you go on a cruise and you can shut your phone off. You shouldn't be in a position where you feel like it controls you, but it's becoming a little bit of a necessary evil now also. So, I'm glad to see that you maybe want to kind of make the transition and connect a little bit online, because I think a lot of people, it takes a little while when they're a little bit afraid of it, and it's good that you want to make the move.
Okay, so Karen, my wife has a Facebook account. How would she connect with you? And then
It's a great question, Mitch. How can people get in touch with you?
I have a public page, and it's called Mrs. Florida 2016 U.S. Continental. And if you go ahead and you just plug that into the search bar, it will come up again. It's Mrs. Florida U.S. Continental 2016. And my name's Karen Turk. It's KarynTurk. I also have a website, which is KarenTurk.com, where I blog and I post my videos. And then I also have a marketing site called MarketingProOnTheGo.com, which is more strategies and tips for business owners and business leaders.
The Marketing Pro on
TheGo.com.
Like Marketing Pro on the Go.
You got it.
OnTheGo.com, exactly.
And
you can
also,
sign up
Mitch-
there for my emails.
And also, Mitch, at Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute, not to throw too much at you, but on our Facebook page, we're also going to be reposting this show, information about Karen and the project she's involved in, so you can find everything there as well, okay?
Okay. I live in Pembroke, but I do, go to Boca, and I have relatives who live in West Palm. So I just wanted to go, and I really love the positive, because positive translates well these days. And I wanted
Thank
to-
you.
We agree. And thank you for
you.
sharing that. That just put an even bigger smile on our face. So thank you so much
Absolutely.
for calling into the show, Mitch. I really appreciate it.
Okay, and if you could throw a couple tickets our way, we're going to rock out.
So
Is that
let
okay,
me
too?
hear you say, what would be your networking goal here?
Yeah, you got to give us your networking
You gotta
goal.
you gotta shout it out.
He's connecting on Facebook.
My networking goal would be, because I'm in the insurance business, my networking goal would be to be as big an influence over all the people who I can possibly be from now till the end of my career. Of course, we all want to be successful, but I want to be a positive influence on all the people who depend on me on a day-to-day basis. So I want to just be a positive influence, because I see so much negativity, and I just don't think it's necessary. There's a lot of good stuff in the world. That's why I called the show. You guys are positive. So, yes, that would be my goal, to meet more people.
That's the best goal.
To be, right. That's, and, I don't want to, overstep my boundaries, but for, with my skills, I want to be a positive influence on my clients and on the people who are in my circle.
That's great.
That's a great goal. I love it. Hang on the line, Mitch. We're going to cut to a commercial break. We're going to get your information so we can contact you about those tickets. Have a wonderful time.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks
guys.
so much for calling in. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to wrap up with a really quick speed version of the rest of these tips. Stick around.
Mom's fall was a wake-up call. We knew she needed help, but we also knew she'd never leave her home.
With jobs and kids, we can't always be there. We weren't sure who to trust to help around the house and make sure she takes her medications.
We did our research and found our answer. Bright Star Care. Their home care teams are led by registered nurses with help available 24/7.
Thanks to Bright Star Care, Mom can stay where she wants to be, at home.
For a standard of care that raises the bar, call 844 for Bright Star.
The Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute is a professional music therapy practice serving medical, community, and educational settings throughout Southeast Florida. With our experienced team of 11 board-certified music therapists, we use music and research-based therapeutic interventions to help individuals of all ages and abilities reach their goals and increase their quality of life. For more information on our services and programs, please visit our website at pbmti.com. Engage with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or call us at 561-747-9944. You are listening to Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. If you'd like to join the conversation, the toll-free number is 888-565-1470. Now back to the show. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You're listening to and watching Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. I'm here with my guest, Karen Turk, 2016 Mrs. Florida U.S. Continental. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much. This has been great.
Oh my gosh, I don't know how to wrap all this up. We could probably talk for another couple hours, I hope you'll
absolutely.
come back.
Oh, I would love to.
Wonderful.
Of course.
All right, so we've got a few more tips to go here. What do you say?
I'm going to just real quick, we talked about being authentic. I just can't stress that enough.
Sure.
I mean, the content that you're going to put out there should be a reflection of who you are and what you believe in, and the right people will follow you, and the sales will come. You're not putting yourself out there. You don't want to put yourself out there as a salesperson, but if you make those right connections, the business will evolve and it will come. And I think you have to embrace change in social media. It is dynamic. It's constantly changing. I have read so many books, as I'm sure you have, about when you're supposed to post and what you're supposed to post and how much you're supposed to post. And nobody knows their business like you.
Right.
So you have to take a good hard look after you've been doing this for a little while at 90 days or, at 6 months and say, you know what? I find that like on Saturday morning, I get a lot of engagement when I post at 10 o'clock. Well, then post at 10 o'clock, just because a book
Your
said.
Your audience is as unique as you are.
Absolutely, completely. That's a really good point. So, and don't give up. Don't give up. You're going to make an impact. It takes time. I've been doing this a really long time. I've been in social media since the beginning. And it's taken me a long time to build the following that I have.
Sure.
So don't give up. Stick with it. I think if you're going to blog, which a lot of people like to blog, you should be blogging once a week. If you're posting on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, you should be doing that 3 times a week. Okay. And again, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. It doesn't have to be something you come up with original. But let's say on Monday you go to a networking event. Well, take a picture and send that out. And then maybe on Wednesday, you share an article that you read in bed the night before, about music therapy, and you share that. And then towards the end of the week, you have something exciting to announce for work. Well, you post that. You'll find the content if you just break it up and keep it simple. 3 times a week is plenty at the beginning. I think that's a good, solid number. And, if you're going to tweet, I think you got to tweet a little bit more. You got to do that like 7 to 10 times a week. And, if you're going to do Pinterest, which I don't know if we have anybody out there that does this.
Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute has a Pinterest board.
I have one too. I don't use it the way I should. I probably don't follow my own rule, but and I've time tested this. I think it's really about 20 times a week in order to really get some following going on Pinterest. It takes a little bit of legwork.
For the audience that's on there, it can be a great way to reach people.
And I think the worst thing is to have, an abandoned presence or no presence at all. So stick with it. Pick 2, just pick 2 and stick with those and become good at those.
I think that's such a great point because I know I'm guilty of that. I have like one afternoon a week that's my office time and I'll do all these posts. I'm like, oh, who's going to see these? I just posted 5 things at once. That's it for the week. That's not good.
But it's still better than not doing it.
Okay,
so,
all right.
Not doing it at all is a lot worse. So if you're getting it out there, I think at first, especially, because it can be overwhelming, and especially with you, running a business and doing all the things you do, you have to make it manageable.
Yeah.
That's the important. Don't let it overwhelm you.
Yeah. My goodness, I know we fit a lot into a little time. We will both continue this conversation because both you and PBMTI were active on social media. You can always interact with us on Twitter, Facebook, any questions you have. Really quickly in our last minute, how can people find you?
People can find me. I have www.KarenTurk.com. And you can also find me on Facebook at Mrs. Florida US Continental 2016, Karen Turk. So connect with me here, there, and everywhere. And I look forward to sharing the journey with your listeners.
That's awesome. Thank you again so much, Karen. What a pleasure.
You're so welcome.
I can't wait to see you again.
Thanks. See you soon.
Take care. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you next Wednesday night. Take care. Thank you for listening to Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. We hope you enjoyed today's program and discovered new ways to bring music, art, and dance into your home or workplace. Please find a copy of today's show at pbmti.com. If you have any questions for our guest or myself, please email me at Bree, that's BREE, at pbmti.com, or call the Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute at 561-747-9944. Tune back in next week for an all-new live show. See you then.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of